One of the things that's really fun for investors in real estate when you've been in the game a while is really helping the next generation or the next new investor. And we're lucky enough to have Anna Kelly with us today, who just had a full day of walking properties, looking at them, discussing how to invest. What is he seeing with her son, Dane? Has a great follow on Facebook if you're lucky enough to be one of her friends, because she puts it all out there. Anna, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to be here. And it was a fun week. I always like it when my son is home. So he's in college. He's been on this show once, but he's 19 and he's studying finance and he's in college in Florida. So when he is home, I savor every moment and try to make sure that we're being really intentional about the time we're spending together and that I'm pouring into him because he does want to be full-time real estate. He's getting the finance degree just to help him understand financials and to get some social interaction and learning how to study and work hard and all of that. But really, he wants to go straight into real estate. And so part of the negotiation, I think I talked about once on the show, for him to agree to go to college since he thinks it's a waste of time, is that he wants to get started in real estate while he's there. He doesn't want to waste 4 years getting a degree that he may not ever need. And that's the reality of where we are today. And he's like, Mom, you can teach me everything I need to know. And while that may be partially true, 19-year-old boys don't want to listen to their mom all the time. And so I said, go to college, get your degree. But when we're together, I'm pouring into you and we're working on looking at deals and evaluating them and looking at all kinds of deals, small single family, multifamily, large multifamily, vacation rentals. And so it's a great time to be able to pour into him and have him actually want to listen to his mom.
That is awesome. That just has to be a great bonding experience that you can have that time together where he looks up to you as the, not the mom, probably looks up to you in that context as the expert and is
Yeah.
just absorbing. So why don't you talk about what you guys saw, what you did, kind of the talk track and communication? It's just the audience wants to hear, I'm sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that what I talked to him about will be really helpful for a lot of you that are newer to investing and really trying to figure out what do you buy in this market. And so he has been looking pretty faithfully at properties pop up on realtor.com. So he's only looking at listed properties right now. But the properties that are listed right now, it's because they need to sell. Nobody's selling right now that doesn't have to sell because they know that they're going to sit for a while and may have to
Yeah.
lower their price. And so most of the deals that are being listed right now are probably motivated sellers to some extent. So I told them start looking at deals, whether it's a single family, whether it's a quad, quads are our preference. But here's the thing, a lot of people that own quads, why would they sell? They're not going to negotiate their price. They've got a great asset that's probably cash flowing with a really low rate mortgage. And so you just don't see a lot of them on the market. So the first thing I said to him is, although I prefer multifamily just for the efficiencies and the price per door I can get, not every economy gives you multifamily. So do you throw your hands up and say, I'm not going to look now because there's nothing out there? No, you say, where is the opportunity in this economy? And let's go after that opportunity. So we're looking at single family houses for the first time for us in a long time, other than vacation rentals.
Yep,
So
me
that was
too.
the first thing that we talked about. And so he pulled up on his app a few of these properties that got listed in our town, a town a couple minutes away from us. So we drove by them. I said, let's not call an agent yet because we don't want to waste their time if we're not interested. Let's drive it first, look at it from the outside, and ask ourselves, is this a property we would want to own? Is this a property that somebody would run a rent from us? And would they pay the level of rent that we would need in order to justify the asking price? And that's really investing 101. But a lot of people don't think that. They just go through. Some people buy properties sight unseen, but they really don't look at what's going to be the return on my investment. How much more money might I have to put into this property based on its condition? And then can I really get the rents to be able to cash flow? And if I can't, what price do I need to be able to offer so that that motivated, price that's well below listing price is such that when I'm all in, I can still make sure that I can cash flow based on the rents that I can get for that property.
Yeah, this is exactly what I talking about with all my students. It's kind of step one for me. How I translate what you just said is first you get a buy box, right? Your town, your area, what you're looking at. Make
Yes.
sure they're all relatively similar, right? You're not going to be comparing a fourplex with this or that, at least in the beginning. It's something you and I could do easily, but not the beginner. Then you got to ask your questions like, what's it going to rent for? What's the make ready cost? Because at the end of the day, I believe every asset type or every buy box, as I call it, produces an average yield. It is your job, or it is Dane's job, to figure out average. Let's just call it
Yes.
5%. Then what Dane's job, and this is only after Dane could tell you, his mom, the average is 5% for this asset type. His job is to go create sevens, eights, and 9%. And how
Yes.
do you do that? Well, you're probably going to have to offer less than list price. And then you just have the confidence, because that's how your numbers work. And
Right.
it's a numbers game. And you're going to have to write, a fair amount of offers and have some counters. And it's a process. This finding great deals is hard. It takes work
Yes.
and discipline, and I love the fact that you're showing him the blocking and tackling, and you just got to keep at it. It's consistency and focus wins in this game, and unfortunately, there is no easy button. There's no easy button to find a great deal. It's daily discipline and work, and just keep going, right? Today's another day. Do it again.
Absolutely.
Do it again. Do it
And
again.
he's looked at a few and it's like, okay, I'm ready to make an offer. And it's like, wait a second, why does this number work? Why?
Yep.
Well, it doesn't, buddy. So we gotta
Yeah.
think about some other things. And one example that we talked about was he was pulling up, and which was really good. He was pulling up as an investor. If I had to put 20% down, what's my mortgage payment going to be? And then we were looking at what do properties like this actually rent for? There was this great big house on a main road, but it was only a 2 bedroom, and a two
Mm,
bedroom is going to be limited to rents versus a 3 bedroom, right? So we haven't been inside of it to see if we could make it into a 3 bedroom, which is something that we talked about.
sometimes, yeah.
But what I said was, he thought, okay, if it cash flows $100 more than the mortgage, it's a good deal. I was like, wait, you still have maintenance, you still have property management, you have to build all of those things on top of that. And when you look at the sales price at the interest rates where they are today, to the point about property values have to come down to compensate for that extra debt service payment, it wouldn't cash flow unless we offered like 50,000 below. And then
Yeah.
he's like, well, no one's going to take 50,000 below. Well, if they're selling now, they might, because they
They
may be
might.
highly motivated. And
Yeah. Never,
if they don't,
never,
then
never guess what a seller will do. Never guess. Write the offer.
absolutely. You make offers based on the numbers that make sense. So
Yeah.
we talked a lot about that 1% rule in previous teaching sessions that we had. So he was looking at that 1% rule, but he wasn't taking all of the pieces into account as to what that 1% does. And when interest rates are high, 1% rule is not good enough in this market, because you're
Yeah.
just not going to cover your mortgage
It's
payment.
so
So
dangerous. So
you've got
dangerous.
to you've got to look at these tools that we use, like the 1% rule, and say, does that make sense today? And it usually doesn't. Maybe if you're paying cash, you can get a decent return, which is interesting, because until about 6 months ago, I wanted to leverage everything I could, because every dollar of leverage
Yep.
increases my return. But now with rates where they are, it's negative leverage.
It's
So every
negative
dollar you
leverage. Yeah.
borrow decreases your return. And so those are the kind of conversations we had. Don't look at old rules and think they work in every single market. You've got to do the work. You've got to get down, pen to paper, write down income minus all expenses. Make sure that you're including things like, windows. Some of the properties that we looked at had old windows, and that was going to cause, heating bills to be higher,
Yeah.
tenants not to be happy with drafts, and windows are very expensive today. Or they might have soffit all over the house that's deteriorating wood. That can cost thousands of dollars. So when you're looking at deals, you have to take into consideration, what's the condition? How much more money do I have to put into this deal on top of my down payment? And then you need to really get your numbers really strong. And if the deals aren't good, and most of them aren't right now, to your
Yeah. Most of
point,
them are. That's, yeah.
then
Keep
you have
going.
two choices. You pass and you go to the next one, or you make an offer that makes sense. And when you submit the offer to the agent, you say, this is how I'm coming up with my
Mhm.
offer. I'm an investor, and mostly investors are the ones that are going to be bringing you offers. And
Yeah.
if I offer this, this is my cash flow at the end. It's only $200 a month. It's not very much. So I can't justify a higher price. This is my best and final offer. Let me know if they take it.
Yeah. And then the other thing I just want to touch on based on that story, 2-bedroom house on a busy street. I would probably caution a new investor to go back and check their rent numbers, because most of them will be pulling rents from, a two-bedroom kind of inland. It's a yeah, but house.
Yes.
It's a two-bedroom, one bath. Yeah, but it's on a busy street. So in my market, that could be 50, that could be $100 less rent. And oh, by the way, your turnover, if it's really a busy street, will probably be higher. So it's all of these things you should poke at. People, it's a complex puzzle that you're not going to learn your buy box in a weekend. You're not going to learn your buy
Absolutely.
box in a month. You might learn it in 2 months, but just keep going. Just keep going.
Absolutely. One last thing I'll throw out there about values, because it's a really good point. We actually talked about this. This being on a busy street could make people with kids not want to rent there, even though the school's, five houses away from this house. And so he looked at the Zestimate. He said, but the Zestimate says it's worth this, which was way too much. And so we talked about how the Zestimate uses
Yeah.
zip code and then number of bedrooms and square footage
Yeah.
primarily to pull up comps. And so if you're in a small town that the whole town is in one zip code,
Mm.
it doesn't show you any variability for these kind of things that make a real impact on your success in bringing in a certain rent and what you should pay for that property. So you have to know the market by watching lots of properties that are listed in the zip codes you want to be in and looking at these differences. To your point, a brick house in a nice on a nice street 2 streets away from a vinyl siding house that might have a huge backyard and be close to a school but on a busy street. I would buy the one that's brick on a quiet street every day of the week,
Every day of the week.
unless I got the other one for a steal of a price. So that's a
Yeah.
really good point.
Yeah. This is a lot of fun. Again, helping the new investors is something you and I do all the time. You have an amazing playlist on this channel. Where else can people find you?
Great. You can find me on my playlist. You can find me on social media at Anna Kelly REI Mom. And if you're a newer investor interested in coaching, you can find me at reimom.com.
Thank you so much. Talk next week.
Thank you.